And we're live. I feel like the fact that Instagram is like screwing themselves up today, I think that that's them trying to say today is not the day for lives. But hopefully we can get this figured out, guys. Flo, if you would like to send a request to join, do you see a button that says like request? So I can accept. There we go. That makes it work better. Maybe. It's saying waiting. It did say connecting last time. It's very possible that this live might not work today. Gotta love technology. I feel like I had a lot of issues like this when I first started doing these lives. Like overheating phones, internet connectivity was bad, but I always try to work around it to make it work. Hopefully we can figure out a way around it. I know that Elliot was having a live earlier today, and they were having issues getting theirs up and running and working, but it eventually did work, I think, for a second. I watched for a little bit. It says unable to join. Let's try again. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. All right.
We have been granted online privileges today.
All right. I'm the one now.
We'll
Technology,
see.
right?
Yeah, we'll see if it holds up for a whole hour.
My fingers are crossed.
Awesome. Well, I will go ahead and let you introduce yourself so people know who you are and you can kind of tell them what you do, and then we can jump right into a fun discussion.
Great, great. Hello, everyone. I am Flo. Welcome to the Flow Experience or Journey Within is my personal business. I am a relationship life coach, and I specialize in self-love and growth. And I'm also an entertainer, a chef, so I got my hat into lots of things right now. And I live out here in California, up in the mountains. And I'm a spiritual person, so this is like year one of the Flow Experience. So I'm like really excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, during the pandemic, I decided to take up trying to learn how to cook. I'm not good at it. That's not my thing. So I figured I'd just do Instagram lives instead. I'm good at talking.
I'm great. I mean, I got this big personality, so for me, it's like my first time actually getting on like Instagram, and because I'm usually if I'm in the kitchen, that's where my passion is. If I'm in the kitchen, talking with chefs, talking with people, sharing my experience, that's where I've gotten the whole, oh, I'm going to do this whole motivational speaking thing from. So it really, it's really good. And today I'm not in the kitchen, so
Well, I want to start off by just saying, like, I love your like colorful glasses and your colorful shirt. Like, I'm this one of those people. I think it's probably a gay stereotype, but like, I'm the type of person that I'm like, ooh, shiny, ooh, colors. So I absolutely love. Like, I actually think like when you popped up in Clubhouse when I first saw you, it was those bright blue glasses, and I was just like, ooh. And then you're like, I do life coaching. I was like, ooh, life
yeah,
coach.
we can.
So it was
Um,
nice to connect.
thing is, I change my glasses up each month, so next month I'll be in green.
That's awesome. Do you do it like the color of like the rainbows, like moving through?
Yep, and come Pride, I will have my Pride glasses, and it's going to be a huge like thing come Pride month out here in California. So don't want to give much away, but you got to work
Awesome.
tough.
Hopefully this year's Pride won't be canceled. I know
Yeah,
that last year was definitely shut down across the world, which was kind of sad. I was
yeah,
actually supposed to go to Rome to do the Rome Pride last year, and that didn't work. So,
yeah. Last Pride, I did a little thing on like my Facebook talking about pride and of course a lot of issues that was going on. So it was like empowering to do like uplifting. But the year before that, I did the whole house party, Todrick Hall, out in Los Angeles, California. Todrick Hall also wished me a happy 30th birthday last year.
That's
So
exciting.
I got a lot of positive support from like people like all over. And I think like in 2019, I lost like 10 pounds off dancing alone. But since the pandemic, the pounds came back on, and I'm working on that this year.
Yeah, that I never realized how active I was in real life until the pandemic put a stop to it and I started gaining weight and I was just like, "Oh, wow, this is not good."
So now I'm working with my doctor on cracking down on my weight. So fun year this year. Last year I did the whole vegan and talking about vegan foods, and like when I talk about food, it's just like my whole spirit just like lights up because I'm in the kitchen and I like creating, and I'm working on the cooking show. But it's not just a cooking show, it's a talk show. That's why it's a flow experience and not just cooking. It's sitting down, it's feeding the soul in different aspirations. So I think that's what's so great about being a cook and being a chef, and for the first time working on my own cooking show.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's a new spin to cooking shows because I don't feel like a lot of them. I mean, I think there's like the Rachel Ray show where she brings cooking and guests and conversation, but I think that your vibe would definitely be a really cool idea to do those types of things. Uh, for me, you actually said like the Todrick Hall thing. One of my other friends that I did a live with, he just recently was in Todrick Hall's music video, and he was like showing all these really cool things and the dance moves that he was having to learn. And I was like, woo! I also can't dance, so I don't dance. I don't cook. So there's a lot of things I don't do, but I'm glad other people can do that. I think that that's another really cool thing when it comes to like life coaches. A lot of people ask me why I promote other coaches, and I'm like, that's because I don't come from a place of limiting beliefs. I think that I offer a specific type of coaching that is from my world perspective, and then other coaches that are different than me, they have a different perspective. And I think that as a community, we can come together and create spaces where, hey, you don't align with me, you might align better with you. And I would rather someone work with you and find the meaning in life than work with me and not find it.
Yes, and I think that's what's so cool. I think that's why we started connecting, because we have like similarities as a life coach, and met you on Clubhouse. I think was really cool. He was like one of the first people that actually followed, other than my friend who recommended me because I was having like this anti like social thing, and she was like, "You should go on Clubhouse. I think it'd be really good for you." And I was like, I'm not too sure if I want to do that because I'm a talker." She said, "Oh no, it'd be perfect for you." I on Clubhouse, and I was like, okay, here we go. I was telling my friend, I went into like this other chat room, and I don't feel real comfortable here. Yeah, she was like, you'll find a room that fits for you. So that same day, I ended up going on to the platform where you found me on, and I started meeting really great people. And you was one of like the first people that followed me. I was like, oh, I like this connection. He was like, I want to get to know you and work with you. And I'm like, is he serious?
I mean, I feel like that's what you're supposed to do with Clubhouse. I think that, so ever since I've been on, it's like a drug. Like it's addictive. Like when I join a conversation, it's not like a podcast where it's like 30 minutes and it's done. Like the conversations just keep growing and growing and growing. And I've been begging all my friends to get on. Like my friend Jasmine just joined this morning, and I've been begging her for 2 weeks. And she sent me a message, and she's like, "Oh my God, the first room I joined was like amazing. Like it's about this, this, and this." And I was like, "See, I told you." I was like, "But be careful, it's a drug."
It became addictive for me because I found myself on there like, okay, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm a talker, but I said I don't want to always over be like a big talker. I got a big personality, so when I came on there, I found myself talking for like 3 hours. I'm like, okay. My friend was like, she did tell me, so you need to set boundaries because you're going to get addicted. And then sure enough, I got addicted. And now I'm having like that balance where I'm like, I'm taking that time, and because I live a spiritual place, I live up in the mountains. It's completely quiet up here in California, so I have time to deflect and say, "Oh, should I go on there today?" No, not today. Tomorrow, I know I'm going to go on there. And I've met so many like great people on there, and I was going on there because, like I said, the pandemic was just getting better. I live out in California, things was opening up, and I was having like that anti like missing that people person. I mean, I'm in the kitchen, but with the pandemic, I don't really get to see a lot of like guests or people that comes in anymore. I get to see just employees or people who actually work where I'm at. So it's like I really miss that interaction. Things was getting a little bit dried up, and I was sitting in the house and I was writing and I was singing and dancing, and my friend was like, "You need to go on Clubhouse." Just to, like,
I feel like we were all kind of sitting at home and being like, do I still know how to interact with other people? Like, is it possible when someone comes up to me that like I don't run from them because I'm afraid they're going to give me COVID? Like, it's a
and
beautiful thing.
yeah,
Like,
and it's hard. And last year it was such a moment that I was having last year. I went on this like vulnerability where I was like uncomfortable in situations, comfortable in situations, things that was happening, and I completely had a moment to myself where I wanted to get off social media, need to collect because I'm a cheerful person. If you come up to me in person, you'll see, oh, he's that cheerful guy, but why is he so cheerful? And people were like, why are you so cheerful all the time? Because I'm a positive person. I take time to work on myself. I live a spiritual life out here in California. I don't live in like a big city area, but if I want to like hop over to San Francisco and go to the Pride or something, it's about like an hour away from me. So I'm not really far away from the city, but I live over the mountain, which is completely excluded. And I just separate myself from people a little bit now. And then I miss that people person. I meet new people out here in California, and people are like, Flo, when are you going to get your show up and running? And people kept pushing me, and I was like, not yet, because I'm a person about being creative. I like my work have meaning, and last year I didn't have that much of a meaning. But I was telling like one of my friends, like, I'm just going to start over. She's like, you're starting over? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep some things that work. I'm gonna go back to my drawing board, figure out what works, and then this year I was saying, okay, I'm just gonna just run with it and promote my business, the Flow Experience. It's about my show and networking new people, and people are receiving it this time because it's authentic. I'm like raw, no gimmicks, no makeup, not working with a fashion designer, not working with a stylist. I'm pretty good at styling myself, so most of my ideas and my creation. Like I said, I write everything down. If I have an idea, I write it down and I put it on my vision board. And oh, maybe I can do something about this year. Or if I don't do it, I'll move it to the side. Okay, this didn't work out. But then I always reflect on, and I think that's what makes it so great is that I'm sticking to what works for right now. But I tell people I am ready for the pandemic to be over with so I can travel and people again and go to some really nice. Like I want to go to London because I've met people that wants to show me around. I think London is going to be my next like hot spot to
yeah,
connect beaches out there. That people are like, I want you to come to London. I want to show you around. And I heard really great things about London.
yeah. I mean, I definitely have some international stuff planned for once this pin. I literally bought my passport February 2020. Like I
Yes.
renewed it, and it came in the mail probably like in May. And I was like, wow, that was like a waste of money. Thankfully, I didn't pay for like expedited shipping, which was like an extra $200 because don't get to use it. But
Yeah.
I really loved what you kind of said when you're talking about like authenticity because I feel like entertainment back when we were younger, it was almost like what was in was being fake or presenting yourself on a grandeur stage that didn't represent you at all. And now I feel like we're moving towards people are gravitating towards the more authentic people, the people who come off really photoshopped, really airbrushed, really fake life, not real, scripted everything. I feel like everyone's kind of falling away from those and they are starting to gravitate towards entertainers that are on their own platforms. It's not like TV shows on MTV anymore. It's a YouTuber who they can relate to. And what would you say that you've kind of used to help yourself like find your most authentic self?
For me, I use different things, and I know I'm all like people know I'm all about unpacking and finding being authentic is something I worked on since I was little. I mean, growing up, I was believe it or not, I was a quiet kid. And nobody really looked at me or paid attention and say, hey, look at me. I never was quiet. Everybody would brush past me. Everybody would look past me. And then I got into the, oh, my voice didn't matter. But then I kept talking to people. Then I kept meeting these other great people. But I've always been like a really cheerful person throughout my years. You're never, people say, you always have a smile on your face, but you're quiet. Yeah. I follow, with that saying is that I follow a lot of like Dr. Maya Angelou's teaching. Always have a smile on your face, even though you're going through something. So even though I might have been going through something and overcoming a lot of issues that I face, even coming out and being that advocate and being a voice, because I always say, people say the quiet guy couldn't win, but then I turned that around. I said, I want the quiet guy to win. I want to be that quiet boy that show people that you can be authentic, you can be vulnerable, you can not be like a main star. You won't see me out there with provocative pictures. You'll see me working and you'll see something positive, and then I will volunteer my services at like shelters and talk to people. I talk to people from the prison system, talk to people that was in a hospital. My mom was a nurse. My aunt worked at car dealerships. I have three brothers. I come from a big family. So I come from a big family that had a lot of talking to people, but I wasn't a talkative person. That's what people thought. But my mom always used to say, when it's time for you to come out your shell, you're gonna light the stage on fire. And it took me a while, believe it or not, to like find my voice, because so many people would try to take that away, because I was like, people wasn't used to somebody like me saying, I'm going to speak up, I'm going to speak out, I'm going to talk about difficult topics that people don't talk about. And me being like, I guess even things that I struggle with, for me as a gay Black man, I didn't see. Honestly, I didn't see what I saw on television. But then I ended up following a lady named Janet Mock, and she's a trans. And when I read her story, and I watch a lot of public speakers, I really do. It was like, I think Oprah did this thing where she was bringing like these great speakers on stage, and I was sitting there like, who is this lady? I really liked the way she spoke, and she was from Hawaii. And what I love the way she spoke, she said, if you don't see what you see on TV, you have got to see the person. You got to be the person that creates something that's something people have never seen before. And I knew I had this gift. People would come up to me and we would have this great conversation. Next thing you know it, there people surrounding me, and then I'll get nervous because the introvert part would come in. Oh, it's too many people. Or I'll be like out with like when I'm close to my friends and somebody was like, you are a really good person. You've been through some things. I love the way you speak and how you handle yourself. It's like you just light up the room when you come into the place. And it's like that when I'm in the kitchen. I try to leave with something positive. Try to represent, I would say my quote I say now is I'm working on something which is called representing a different rainbow. I wanted to represent a different flow. I wanted to show some people something different. I didn't want to always see what we see now, which is the twerking, and I wanted to show something positive. But I wanted to be fun. I wanted to be modern. I wanted to talk about things that was happening. And I follow like Dr. Maya Angelou, Oprah, Cicely Tyson, Bishop T.D. Jakes, Todrick Hall, these people that paved the way for me to allow me to become this like speaker. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to be a great speaker, how am I going to do it? Because nobody really gave me like the blueprint to say, oh, if you're going to be a great speaker, is this what you're going to do? How are you going to do it? Growing up as a kid, I would be like, oh, when they say, oh, what do you want to be when you grow older? A lot of people say, oh, I want to be a singer. I want to be a basketball player. Nope, that wasn't me. I'm like, okay, I want to be a speaker. The whole class laughed at me. But then I was like, I'll prove you wrong. I'm going to become this speaker. But my mom said, you got to be careful what you ask for, because I'm a spiritual person. And I went home, went on my knees and prayed, like, God, please make me a great speaker. Please journey so I can get to my dreams. And sure enough, I went on this journey went through my hurricane, went through my seasons. Out came that. I became homeless. I overcame homeless, started my business, but I've always been that cheerful person. When I was homeless, I was volunteering. I was still helping out in my community. I still had a smile written on my face. And then I went into a spiritual transformation program to focus on my spirituality and allow that. And I'm writing a book about this because I'm a talker. So, like, if you have any questions, just get the book. Um, but I tell people it wasn't until I did that spiritual journey because I've lost everything. I lost friends. I was on the hospital bed fighting for my life. And I remember my spiritual father came in there. He was like, "You can't live your life like how I used to," because I was so quiet. Like, that was the image that people say, "You're quiet. You need to open up. You need to share your gifts with people." But then I had that quiet stereotype, like quiet people's voices didn't matter. Maybe I should just fall into the cracks and just go invisible. But I just kept speaking. And then my spiritual father would come in and he was like, "Your life is about to change and you don't even know it." Because I was talking about it then. Like, I'm going to have this show. This is what I want to do. But then I was like, okay, I want to take some time to work on me, go on this spiritual journey, understand who I was, understanding how, I guess, important that journey is. And that's when I started discovering things. I went out hiking, I went out in nature, I started taking myself out of the bad environments that I grew up in. And now it's just like I'm manifesting. Now, honestly, today I've learned how, I say people's a great thing because I had to learn how to love myself. And I tell people all the time, I've learned to love myself beyond measurement. And I had the aha moment where, like, I just love, and I tell people today that I'm just loving on me right now, not looking at what everybody else is doing. And it took me a long time to, like, get over that, that negative thought. And it was like, yeah, I'm just loving on me right now. I love me. I've been connecting with people. It's a joy because it's like a weight was lifted off. And now people's like, Flo, this is the flow we've been talking about, the flow what we've been waiting for. I'm excited about your journey because people's like, yeah, I see there's a difference in you and how you approach and how you handle things, how difficult things was for you. But I didn't allow my circumstances to stop me from dreaming. Even when I lost everything, I started finding positive people. I had spiritual people, spiritual brothers, and people that was like looking at me, and people was like, "Do you know you kind of have like that presence? Like when you walk in a room, you just light up people." And it wasn't until I started listening, and a lot of people say I had all these great things, and I would hear it, but I wasn't receiving it because I wasn't where I thought there was something wrong with me. And so someone saying, "There's nothing wrong with you." No.
I was just about to ask because you said that like for a long time that you were the quiet kid, and I
Yes.
think that like one thing that quiet people have over people who speak all the time is we listen, we observe, and so I think that through your life, if you are observing how everyone else is interacting and not kind of always talking about yourself, which a lot of people do, they feel like they need to create their space so they talk and they forget to observe how everything else is functioning around them. And I feel like that being a quiet kid in early years, like learning how to listen and observe first, and then coming in, because I feel like you've probably, a lot of what you're speaking about is stuff that you've just absorbed from being in that world. Everything that you were talking about, I think you're just absorbing all this information. So now they were talking about like age doesn't give you wisdom, like the events that come into your life, the experiences you live bring you wisdom. And it sounds like you were probably spending a lot of your life observing how other people lived. And then you just needed to find the voice to share everything that you just learned.
Yes. And once I did find my voice, it became, because I'm posting a video about this tomorrow, finding my voice, and also watching the United States versus Billie Holiday, which is going to be a topic on my Facebook because I like music and I like Billie Holiday, and it's a new movie, and a lot of people definitely are talking about it, and I think it's one of those things that's going to It's on Hulu. It'll be on Hulu tomorrow. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow is be watching that and taking notes because I'm a musical person and I always go back to where music roots come from. And Billie Holiday is one of those people that I'm curious to see what her story is about. Is produced by Lee Daniels. Is by a great singer named Audrey Day, and she has a song called "Rise Up," which I'm going to post on my Facebook tomorrow. So it's kind of like finding my voice, talking about Billie Holiday versus the United States, and I think it's such a monumental moment, and it's also like that key moment that is still Black History Month. And things, learning new. I'm like this year. I said I wanted to learn something new about what it's like to be Black, what it's like not just to be Black, but to be colorful, and to learn something new with what's going on. And that's kind of why I kind of like had this dream and follow a lot of great speakers. And it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to watch this Billie Holiday because I'm a musician. Everybody knows I like music. I think people are starting to differentiate. Like, yeah, I'm a life coach, but I'm a guy that likes to have fun. I'm modern. I like to go out. I like to have a good time. I like to make people smile. I don't like people around me feeling uncomfortable. I want everybody who around me to lead with something positive. So that's what I try to represent. And hey, I tell people if I'm not having a good day, you'll know like I'm not having a good day. I'm just here in my spiritual space, getting myself together. And but it's just like people are starting to receive it for the first time. And honestly, I tell people I get scared because I don't always assume that I'm this great speaker. But it's not until somebody's like, keep doing what you're doing. You're inspiring people. But it got to the point where it was like, I don't think I'm that great of a speaker. Honestly, I just
Have you started your own room yet on Clubhouse?
know people are waiting.
I will say like what you were saying was beautiful when you were saying like if you don't see something that represents who you are or your values out there in the world, then you need to be that person. Like that's how I feel like Clubhouse is. I feel like that app, like there have been so many rooms that I've joined where I was just like, I'm not really loving this vibe. Like I feel like this is a great space for some, but this isn't me. Like I don't feel like it's me. And it's a scary thing to hit that start room button and then hope people come and join. And I feel like that's what you need to do. Like I feel like you have so many different parts of you that I bet you could like really come up with a really great like room name that just represents you and everything that you like put out into the world. And I bet you would pull in so many beautiful people that you would just connect with perfectly. And I mean, ping me into it. I would definitely be interested.
He's like, so are you gonna do a room? I'm like, no, I'm want to, but I'm still trying to figure out the whole Clubhouse thing, and I'm cautious of what type of room I want to put out there because I don't want to put anything, but I also want to create that balance of like having a serious conversation, but add some like fun stuff in it. You know, I like listening to Clubhouse and I like listening to people's stories, but I think people forget to add the fun in it. Like when we talk about LGBT thing is always the trauma, but where's the fun stuff in it? There's fun stuff other than the trauma. There's the part where you wake up every day and it's a beautiful day and you're meeting people. Those are the good things that I tend to pay attention to. But when I go in a group and I focus on being a life coach, I listen to them. But I was like, okay, so tell me something fun about you. What do you love about yourself? I don't always want to lead a room where something where it's like, oh, what's something fun about you? What do you love about yourself? What do you see yourself as? But most people lead with like that past. The past is not going to change. But let's focus. That's what I think. That's what's so good about a life coach or how I represent it. We kind of focus a little bit more on the future and not so much on somebody's past. So I'm more of like, what makes you happy? What do you love about yourself? And we don't hear a lot of those things. We hear a lot of like things like, oh, things are not going great in my life. But there are great things. You're breathing for one.
I think that a lot of people forget that the thing that you are trying to heal from is the trauma. But if you focus everything on the trauma, you're not healing from the trauma. You are reliving it over and over and over and over again. If you realize what is a healing aspect of trauma is understanding the trauma, like forgiving the trauma, whether it's someone else or yourself, and then shifting your focus to growth, shifting your focus to positive energy. And I think that it's an amazing thing to say, I see your trauma. What kind of things do you love? Like, because if we sit here and talk about our trauma for
It's
4 hours, when you leave that conversation, you're like, ugh.
I feel so drained, right? And so that's where I try to come into those groups and I'd be like, you know, what do you love about yourself? Let's not focus the trauma. That's you've been. It's like when people focus on trauma, and me as a life coach, something that I've learned is that they will hold on to that, and nobody teaches them how to let go. And it's important for me as a life coach is to teach them how to let go of the trauma because the trauma is based. And the thing that I tell people about mental health, it happens in the past. Your future, you don't know. So people tend to hold on to that, and then they get into that space where that's all they know. But I try to always remind people that you can change. And for me, I tell people every day, but when I was in my creative spiritual space, I took myself away. I went into my war room, started praying, been in my little spiritual little bubble, and then I was like, okay, now it's time for me to go out there. But in that time, I would write stuff down, little notes about things. Like I would call them like nuggets, because I'm a food person. Little nuggets that I would keep to remind myself that okay, today is not a good day. And if anybody ever tells, and I tell everybody who ever followed me, sometimes we have to, cheer our own selves on. Sometimes people are not always rooting for you. Sometimes I would wake up every day, I don't think my voice matter. But I would have this saying, and I have it written in my bathroom, on my phone, everywhere to remind myself, and I tell it, and I take this with me everywhere I go. When I do speakings, when I go on different places, I remind myself that I am enough just the way I am. I don't have to beat somebody at the finish line. I'm taking my time figuring this out. Do I have everything figured out? No, because people think a life coach you got to have it all figured out, and I'm like, nope. Just the part that I'm good at, just telling my story, and I'll tell people, like, you are enough. You are enough. You don't have to have somebody to come around you to tell you that you're great. You have to know that you're great before that person even walks into the door. And I learned that if you could step into the room and you could change somebody's mindset from being negative and showing them a smile or just a little bit of things. I tell people you don't have to do a lot of stuff to brighten somebody's day. You could just walk in the room and they know, oh, there goes Flo. He has a smile on his face. Even though he's going through something, he still shows up with his best intentions in mind. He still shows up. Even though, like my chefs, everybody, when I walk in the kitchen, they know he has a smile on his face. But I'm quiet in the kitchen, and I have my team, and they know, like he's like when I'm not smiling or if I'm not in like a good space, people notice.
Yeah.
And it don't even be that I'm sad. Sometimes I just don't want to. Like people get nervous, like, okay, he's really quiet today. Just something must be going on, and that's when I realized, like, my space alone, my inch alone, can change the whole room by itself, and it has. Because when my mood is bad, and I'm really in a negative space, people will notice, like, he's in a negative space. And you can feel it, because people will walk on eggshells around me. They'll be really like, everything okay? I'm like, not really. And they can sense it. And that's all like, okay, I have this gift where people tend to notice. And people would say, like, even random strangers will come up and they will cuss around me, and I'm not a cusser. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry for cussing. I'm like, I've never even said anything. I'm like, I tell people, do you feel comfortable around you? I don't care if you cuss. I don't care whatever you do. I'm just not going to do it. But people will happily randomly would say, I apologize for cussing around you. I know you're not that type of guy. But like, believe it or not, I'm 30 years old. When I was in my early 20s, I was wild. I had my fun, had my dipping and do it moments. I was out there dipping and doing it and having fun. So I was like, yeah. But then I'm in a different point in my life where I was telling people, and I was telling this to my best friend, like the things that I've learned at 20, it's not the things that I want to take with me when I'm 30. I'm 30 now, and I love that I've been on my spiritual journey for that long, and people are finally starting to realize like this is who he's about. And I could walk in the room and I don't even have to say it anymore, which was good for me. Because growing up, people didn't know how to, like, I grew up in the 90s and it was like that 90s, like R&B, got your Britney Spears, you got your Christina Aguilera moments, you had your TLC moments. And I grew up in that music era. So you had these like great people like influence you. And I had my little Britney Spears moment, had my Christina Aguilera, had my Beyonce moments, and you don't realize how these people help me help me come off that rainbow. It was like I was listening to my Christina Aguilera, and like I'm just gonna jump right over the rainbow, and that was it.
Have Have
And I think,
you gone back and listened to all those types of songs? Because I feel like when I was little, like I jammed out to those songs because they were just like upbeat like songs. And like
yeah,
now as an adult where I've experienced love, heartbreak and all of that stuff, now when I hear the lyrics, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this touches my soul." Whereas before I was just like dancing to it, having no clue what
what
the words meant, what emotions behind the lyrics. And like now I'm just like, oh wow, I'm feeling this. Like the Britney Spears song where she's like, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. Like that was like my 20s. Like, oh my God. Like I was like, I don't want to be a child, but I'm not an adult yet. And that
exactly.
song, the lyrics, I was just like, wow, this is deeper than I thought it was.
Yes, and it was like that. Kind of was listening to like a Christina Aguilera. I forgot the name of the song. Is it Genie in the Bottle? That's how I rap. That's how I looked at myself. And then it was like What a Girl Wants, but I put What a Boy Wants. And then I watched the video, and then I was like, well, oh no, I'm not that anymore. But I can still go out there. I tell people I can still go out there and I can still dip in and do it. But I'm in my always listen to like upbeat music. So if I tell people I listen to upbeat music, I listen to inspiring music, I listen to soulful music, I listen to African style music because I do African dancing. Before the pandemic in 2019, not 2020 but 2019, I did African dancing. I love that part of me that I didn't always have a chance to explore. My father's side of the family is from Africa, and I tend to focus on the dance, and it's an art. It's more of an image. So when I tell people I dance, it's like it feels like I tell people it's like my ancestors are around me. I'm a totally different person when I'm in my music space. I am singing and dancing, and I will invite people up to dance with me, and it's just like creating that energy. Like, you don't have to be perfect. Just come on up there and dance, feel that presence. And I was like, you don't have to be good at dancing, but I have something that can teach you along the way. But it
Yeah.
wasn't. And I started finding that thing that empowered me was dancing and music. Because when I didn't have anybody around me, or when I was in my shell by myself, I just had music, and that's all I had was music.
I feel like the most inspiring song, the two songs that I can think of was Mariah Carey's I Can Make It Through the Rain, and then Mariah Carey's Hero. How she was like singing about like the hero is you, like you're your own hero. Like
Mhm.
I heard that song first at when she performed it after 9/11 happened, and she sang that song, and I just loved her voice and the lyrics, but I didn't understand what that meant. And now when I listen to it, I almost cry every single time because like I think that that's something I have to remind myself all the time is the hero's in here. Like
Yeah.
to save yourself, like you have to look inside because it's in there. God put everything you need to survive this world in here. And as soon as you stop looking uh, outside of yourself for the solution for the trauma and pain that you're feeling, like as soon as you realize that it's in your hands, like it's all here, that
Yes.
song, like I can't because like that song literally speaks to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's so right. Like I there have been so many times when I hit rock bottom and my friends just disappeared because not because they didn't love me, but they had their own experiences that they had to fight and battle through. And I had to pick myself up. And honestly, like once I learned that I could be my own hero, that someone didn't have to come and save me. Like, it
Yeah.
was like a mind-blowing moment for me. I was just like, wow, I can't. It's nice when other people help to pick you up, but it's also an amazing strength to realize that you've got the power to do it yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and I guess I would say a song today that did it for me was everybody knows that it's a Todrick Hall song, and I'm doing a new cover to the song right now as we speaking, but it's you know, and it's a song called Enough. And I was went to the concert in 2019, and the song kind of resonated with who I was, and I kind of took a little bit of that, and I was like, I am enough. And I share it with a lot of people all the time, and it's such a powerful moment. And reason why I like Todrick Hall, because he represents something that I wanted to see on television for so long. I didn't see it, and he's such like a musician. You know, he wears wigs, so I got a little bit of that personality that comes out. I have a little Wendy Williams personality when I'm like entertaining, when I'm out there with the people. I have a little bit of RuPaul in me. And it wasn't until like I listened to Todrick, I've literally been following Todrick Hall for years. Follow him. He likes some of my Instagram. He wished me happy birthday. He's somebody like I'm trying to like work with in a nearby future. Like really trying to work with him. Not only that, I follow a new lady now, and about to start telling people about her. Her name is Tabitha Brown. If you don't know who Tabitha Brown is, you're gonna find she is this vegan mom that lives out here in California. She has a book coming out, and I'm going to be talking about that book when it comes out, because I read a new book every month, and she's on my book list right now, and I've already ordered. The book don't come out till September, but I've already got it. And if you don't know who Tabitha Brown, she's a vegan mom, and she's an entrepreneur. Her dreams didn't come true until she was like 40. And I was like, okay, I love the way she speaks. She's really spiritual. She's somebody that she really allowed me to come out of my shell. And it's okay to be cheerful. It's okay to be country. It's okay to be who you are. And people are going to talk about you and say they blue in the face. Ain't nothing you can do about that. You can either accept what they say and let it defeat you, or you can prove them wrong. And I'm like, I don't have that much energy to prove them wrong, but I'm going to show them something different, you know. And it wasn't until I was listening to Tabitha Brown, why I started my vegan journey, why I did like this whole like vegan thing, because she was been a vegan for about 4 or 5 years, and she really helped me come out of that shell and be like, it is what it is. You know, I have a cheerful personality. I like being positive. I like that space. And man, I've been meeting like so many great people, from you to people on Clubhouse that I never would have thought I would have met had I not decided, okay, this the year that I'm going to put myself out there and experience something new. I probably would have never went on Clubhouse. My friend just so happened to put me on Clubhouse, and then I have all these great people, wonderful folks that share their experience, and people asking me questions. I'm gonna have to do another video later, but it's just a wonderful it's a wonderful experience, and I meet so many great different folks. And I'm glad I met you, because I was like, dang. When I was like, okay, let me go on his Instagram. What guy is about? And I went on there. I was like, he's a life coach. I was like, oh, we're on that same alignment. And we consistently, since we met on Clubhouse. And I think that is a cool, and we kind of like sharing space and showing something positive. And we don't see a lot of people out here that try to represent that rainbow where you see something positive, where it's not always focusing like on the hard stuff, but try to show somebody a different part of the rainbow. And I think there's a lot of people out here that's starting to take that step and be like, hey, there are cheerful people out here that focus on positivity. Yeah, we have this like stereo thing that goes on the television, but that's not the whole rainbow. There's a whole big rainbow out there, and there's a bunch of sides of it. There's a left side of rainbow, there's a positive, and I was like, well, okay, I want to represent positive. I didn't want to represent what I've been saying on Instagram or social media. I want to represent something.
I feel like a lot of people uh, like to complain about what they think should be happening in the world. And what I've learned is, like, if you want something to happen, make it happen. It
Mhm.
Stop criticizing other people for not doing it and just do it yourself. Like the reason I started these positive talks was I too saw so much negative on everything. I was just like, oh my god, politics, pandemic, choices, everything was just like hate. It was like hate, hate,
Hey,
six packs, hate, hate, hate,
big
naked
pack.
picture, and then I was just like, there, nothing on the internet is like making me happy. I want to delete everything. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. And I was
Yeah,
like, you know what? I'm probably not the only one who's thinking this way. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna create a positive space that people can come to and be positive. And I always tell people, like, the comments under my pictures are all full of amazing, beautiful people. Like, connect with
yeah,
everybody. It's not just me. The thing that I've created is a community of positive thinking people. The people
exactly.
I do lives with, the people that are comments, like all of it is part of the message that I've created. And everyone that's helped to create this space, it's all a part of the puzzle. And I was like, don't just message me, like all of these, like respond to each other's comments. Like I think it's a beautiful space to create when you intentionally create a loving, caring, positive space. And I've been so excited. Honestly, there was a lot of trolls at first, a lot of hate, people trying to bring me down, but after a point, like it got to the point, like I deleted someone out of this live a second ago that was putting negative in this space. I don't accept that, but I think that it's important to intentionally do that. To create love, you have to intentionally do it. It doesn't just magically happen,
Yeah,
because there are people out there intentionally creating hate. Love isn't going to grow out of hate. You have to intentionally put it there. You can
yeah,
plant seeds and it will grow.
yeah. You know, I'm all about planting seeds and feeding the soul, and that's what I tell people. I don't look at negative. People will talk about me. People have talked about me, and I will still have a smile on my face because what they're saying is not really affecting me. It comes, and I understand. I'm such a people person. I'm such a not just a life coach. I'm a healer. I believe in healing. I believe in letting people be them best selves. Even if they talk about me, it doesn't change me. It doesn't stop me from growing. I have my own business. I have great people around me. It took me a long time to realize that. I stopped looking at the negative and I started focusing more on positive. And it wasn't until I got into that moment where I was like, somebody would come on my Instagram and say something negative, and I'll just say, I love you, but thank you for your experience. But now I got to be that direct person and move on because I don't keep a negative space around me. And I would tell people right now, if I feel like you're negative and you bring me down, I'll cut you out. Just go.
Yeah.
I will cut you out and keep moving. My life is not going to stop because you're choosing to be negative. It's just that I just don't have time to experience the negative stuff anymore. And I think that's what people realize when they come up to me. Yeah, I'm the cheerful person, but look, I've had to put my foot down with some folks. You know, it took me a long time to just like get that backbone. Like I'm direct, but I love people. You come up to me, we can have a really good conversation. But if you're negative, I'm not gonna feed that. I can't feed that energy. That's not the energy that I want to represent. And if I dare continue to feed the energy, it would bring me down and it would change my aspiration. So I wanted to always. I tell people I come from a place of love, um, and I take this with me, and I tell people I take this with me everywhere. Following Maya Angelou, that sometimes you have to be the rainbow in somebody else's clouds.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
and
think that it's so important
storm,
to
and you got to
realize
show
that,
her.
like, what other people say about you is not a reflection of you. It's them projecting onto you. So, like, when people come in and say hateful things about me, I've gotten to a point where my self love is so strong that when people are hateful to me, I feel sorry for them. I I don't take offense to it. I
I
feel
don't,
sorry that they're in a place in their life where they feel like they have to be hateful to someone else. Because for me personally, like I'm in such a place of self love that I could never do that to someone. I would never, ever in a million years say something hurtful to someone else. Like, I know that there's so many struggles I deal with on a regular basis, and I know everyone else does as well. I would never add another stone to someone's bucket when it comes to negativity and
yeah,
stuff weighing them down.
yeah, and it's crazy. And I always tell people that you got to feed the soul what it needs. And if you feed that seed of doubt, I'm big on plant planting. I like flowers. But I tell you, if you want to feed your soul, you have to feed your soul what it needs in order for it to grow. And I tell this people all the time, a plant doesn't just bloom at first. No, you got to put in the seed. Then it has to spread its roots. Before it blooms, it got to be watered. It has to take time for it to come out. And I tell people, different plants grow at different times, different seasons, and you just don't know when it's time for you to bloom. But when you bloom, you'll meet people all the time, and they say, "Wow, that's a beautiful flower." But you got to think how that flower started to grow, where it get its roots from, where it get its foundation from, where it starts finding themselves, how to discover themselves, and how to become a person. It starts in the ground first before it blossoms, and it could be a beautiful tree, it could be a flower that grows in winter. It could be a flower that grows in the fall. But once it starts to bloom, then you'll see other little flowers that grows around it. And then you'll see weeds every now and then, or you'll find a fly that just doesn't belong in that atmosphere. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I always tell people you want to keep surrounding yourself with that kind of support, that kind of love. And I think that's what's so great about feeding the soul and feeding it what it needs. And some people don't, and I didn't know always how to feed my soul the right thing sometimes. And I did fall for those negative things that people said, and it did do that. But it wasn't until like, you know what? I'm done listening to this. Let me focus on this. Let me talk about this. Let me love on myself a little bit. Let me take myself out of the equation. Because I'll tell people if I know I'm struggling with something and I'm not my best, I'll take myself out of the situation. I'll go in my little quiet little space. I'm an introvert, and I'll go into my writing space. And then when it's time for me to come out, I took some time and I'm upfront. And I think people got to be comfortable with their feelings and not try to change it and process in that moment. Most people try to get out of those feelings too quickly instead of experiencing it and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And it says it's okay not to have good days. It's okay not to have great days. Those days have meaning just like everything else.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I think that a lot of people spend their life trying to prove to other people who they are. And once you realize that you don't have to prove yourself to anyone, like I've had so many people send me like hateful messages saying that I'm certain things and saying that my intentions aren't pure and that the stuff that I'm doing is just self gain. And I was just like, I mean, I don't have to prove myself to you. Like, I wake up every morning happy. I wake up spreading light and I try to show everyone love. If you don't see that, that's not my problem. Like,
Nope.
that's your life. If you'd like to go through life thinking everyone's evil and everyone's out to get you and everyone's self-serving, go for it. That's a great way to live for you. I'm sure you've got a little cloud of rain on you every single day. But for me, like every relationship I create, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I believe that for the most part, people are good. I think that most people that cause harm are just hurt and they have the capability of good if they can heal. So for me, I don't throw it back. I don't engage. I'm just like, personally, I could say something back that would hurt you as well, but I'm not wasting my energy on hurting you because that does nothing for me. It does nothing to move us to the world I want to see one day before I die. So I think that it's important that people realize you don't have to prove yourself to anyone.
No. And it took me a long time to realize that. And I guess I stopped proving, well, early age, like 10 years old, I stopped proving myself to people. I came out when I was young, real young. I'm like that golden child rainbow. I lost my virginity till I got like I'm that gay guy, like I'm over like, very over the rainbow. I knew who I was about at a young age, and people said, "Really? Yes." But then I was like, I'm comfortable, but it took me a long time to get comfortable in my skin because I grew up in like a Washington D.C. and I grew up in a city where coming out wasn't as powerful as it is today, but I've always been comfortable. I've always tell people this is who I am, but stop telling people that because I don't lead with my sexuality anymore. I don't lead with being gay. I lead with my strength, which is being spiritual, which is being happy. So I tell people I'm not just gay, but there's always other parts of me. And for the longest time, people only saw the gay part. They didn't see I'm a spiritual person. They didn't see that I was a writer. They didn't see I was a singer. So I said, let me retell my story. Let me recreate this thing. Let me go back to loving myself. Let me take that time out. And it wasn't to that moment where it's like, okay, this is the moment. I'm going to take this time out to work on myself, take the time off that I need, and to reinvent myself, learn new things about myself. And people was like, I like this approach. Because I'm not out here proving anything to anybody. I have nothing else to prove. I've been a chef for 10 years, been in the kitchen. I'm a writer. I have good friends. I have nothing else to prove to people. And I tell people, I don't have nothing to prove anymore. Only thing I have left is gift. It's the gift that God has given me, the spirit, the universe, whatever the gift my ancestors give me, that's what I'll follow. And I love it. It allows me to relax. It puts me in elements where things seem comfortable for us, things that seem uncomfortable for other people. I'm really chill. Somebody will talk about me and I'll laugh and yeah, might be true. Yeah, I was hard on myself. I'm able to talk about myself and laugh now versus crying about myself and beating myself up. Now, when some people talk about me, I'll laugh like, "Yep, I was a mess. Yep, I was a mess. I talked about people just like you talked about people." If you love it because I love to laugh at myself. Like I make mistakes just like you make mistakes. I talk about people just like you talk about people. We ain't nobody's perfect, but it's about representing that rainbow. It's about being positive. It's about showing that. So now when people talk about me like you're gay, yeah, I am. I'm over the rainbow. I struggle with it. Yeah, I am. And that's what's so good about it now is that I can look at it and turn everything into a positive. It's no longer somebody will come into my little comment and I'll be like, I love you. Yes, thank you for sharing your opinion. Thank you for telling me how uncomfortable you are. It doesn't stop me from living. It stops you from living. And I choose not to live with a negative mindset. And that's what I choose to do. Even if somebody comes on my Facebook or Instagram and say something hateful, I'll respond to them, give them something like, I hope you experience the flow experience. Thank you so much. It took you that, I mean, you got to really look at it because it took them that much for them to say something. I was like, thank you for saying something. Thank you. But I'm going to have to block you. But I want to thank you for sharing that. But I got to keep this, I got to keep the boat moving. I got to keep on.
Thank you so much for giving me so much time and energy. I really appreciate it. I know that you don't have unlimited, so the fact that you're using any of it for me, I really appreciate it.
Yes. And I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully keep working with you and growing this space. And it's been kind of hard on the pandemic because, like, I know you're in Virginia, and I'm like, if I was out there right now, I would have already driven out to Virginia. And like live in like person. But since this pandemic over, because my family and stuff is out there and they're dealing with the snow and black ice. I know a lady got killed out there, and kind of like I kind of well, that's not in California, but, but I live up in the mountains, and I tell people like I'm from the East Coast, and I kind of miss it a little bit. I did go out there in October, but then it's like I'm glad I'm able to meet you, and I'm still meeting people every day, and I'm learning and experiencing new things.
It's
And
actually funny because I'm meeting more people around here where I'm from. And when I went to the West Coast for a YouTube event, I met more people there and on Clubhouse that live close to me than I did meeting them in spaces around me. So it's very
yeah,
interesting to kind of meet people that way. But I see that the timer has jumped up on the screen to tell us that they're going to cut us off in a minute and 30 seconds. So
yeah,
I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this. I am definitely looking forward to collaborating with you as time goes by. Hopefully soon it won't be virtual life and can be real life stuff, but I absolutely love you on Clubhouse. I highly recommend you hitting that start room button. And I mean, now's the time. It's a new app, and
yeah,
like soon it's going to be open to the world. Build yourself a platform there because it's going to be monetized soon, and that would be a great way to start speaking and
yeah.
get paid for it.
Yeah, I'm working on it, and I want to say thank you so much for having me on. And I'm definitely looking forward to some future stuff where it's not virtual, but we're gonna have some fun when this passes. I know that. But thank you for having me on, and I really appreciate everything. I'm
Yeah.
sure we're gonna be talking even after this is over with. But yeah, all right, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Have a good rest of your day. I know it's like 3 o'clock for you instead of the 6 that I've got here. So enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you're trying to rest of your evening.
I'll try. Bye.
Bye.